Hello everyone, we are from Group 7. We will present to you guys our final result regarding the implementation of ERP system to optimize business workflow in a hospital. We will show a recap of the problem identification, how we address the implementation in plan of action, and then reflection towards theoretical and practical gaps. Today, we are presenting with three people. Myself, Daniel, will give introduction of the company, describe the problem, give recommendation to solve the problem, and a bit of the case ambition, especially the case would be the hospital. And then Abbas will dive deeper into the implementation plan. And then finally, Zachary will wrap it up with the economical impact and a comparison between the company's approach and our approach. First of all, a recap in the introduction. Our company is M&I Partners, a consultant company which focuses on hospital and governmental institutions. However, the problem owner for this case is a hospital which had focused on electronic medical record or EMR for the last 10 years and has been indicated to have a lacking supportive system. This makes them in the need for innovation to realize their strategy, which is care for each other, focus on quality, personal, reliable, and digitalization. Next up, problem description. The problem that happened is that the hospital management could not professionalize the hospital's supportive operations. This has been caused by the current systems that are outdated, and there are multiple independent systems which are unintegrated without proper linking between each other, so this causes bad communication between departments. And then different definitions and spreadsheets were being used, so therefore it causes unuseful reports that leads to bad information management. A lot of manual input also required, so it leads to human errors, which ultimately leads the management to gather information inefficiently and inaccurately. An example for this is the human resource and finance departments. They use different definitions for, let's say, full-time employee. So if we ask this question to them, they will give different answers based on their own definitions and knowledge. Another example is there is no clue of what the sickness rate is. So it is impossible to plan, impossible for this hospital to plan their employees to address this sickness rate question. And then this brings us to our recommendations of a need for implementing an ERP system to solve the described problem. This ERP system replaces all the existing different systems and Excel sheets so that everyone will work using the same system, improving collaboration between departments. And also, this single integrated ERP system means better operations management and less cost for operations and IT. This brings us to the challenges that will occur when we implement an ERP system to the hospital. We categorize these challenges into multiple aspects. In organizational and human aspects, there are challenges occurred, such as in HR department, they lack of policy and rules for their IT usage to support their business operations. This implementation will also bring changes into the hospital's operational workflow and activity roles. So the availability of best people from multiple departments will be required. There is also a tendency to stick to old behavior from the employee, so we need to make sure that in the implementation process, proper training should take place later on. Then, when it comes to technical challenges, there are several challenges in transferring ERP data from local server to cloud solutions. One of it is to convert and migrate all data from different systems used by different departments. and availability of people that can be knowledgeable with data migration between current and a new IT system will also be required. But apart from these challenges, this implementation could bring benefit to the hospital's organization, mostly to give better access to higher quality data, better collaboration between departments, more efficient processes by using one system, and better organized way of working. And moving on to the ambitions, values, and strategy. The hospital strategy has shifted not only to promote positively healthy or absence of illness, but also to remain in the top 25% of the general hospitals in the Netherlands. This implementation helps to improve and realize 3 out of 7 hospitals' ambitions. These ambitions, which are front-runner in digital transformation, invest in doctors, employees, and organization, strengthen the business operations, is taken into consideration during the selection of the ERP system and the implementation approach. Based on the general characteristic of the hospital's processes and workflow should be based on best practices from other general hospitals to become highly efficient in executing their daily processes and workflow. And then next up, we will have Abbas to discuss about the implementation plan for the plan of action.
Thank you, Daniel. Now I would like to talk about the implementation plan. Our guidelines for this implementation will be a software development life cycle based on the waterfall model. In this cycle, first we will look at the scope of the project and make a planning by showing a time frame of the overall project. Furthermore, we will set up a team guiding the project. Secondly, we will define the functional and non-functional requirements. So instead of designing a part of a system, we will look at the selection of a package that aligns the best with the hospital strategy and requirements. Based on this, we select the appropriate ERP system, which is the step 3. After selection, we will analyze, test, and provide trainings. Upon completion of the trainings, we can start with the implementation process. Lastly, we will look at post-implementation, whether the implementation went as planned or needs any adjustments to be done. After determining the scope of the implementation process, we derive to a conclusion that ERP system will change the way of working in supportive departments, which comprises of finance, logistics, human resource department, asset management, IT department, and reporting department. Therefore, we created a plan of the overall implementation process. The image illustrates the timeline required for the successful implementation. It shows that the entire process right from planning to post-implementation stage will take approximately 1 year. Considering the project scope and schedule planning in mind, a steering committee was established, which comprised of chief levels, knowledgeable representatives from each of the department in the scope of this project, as well as a team from external parties such as vendors and suppliers, and the consultant, which in this case was our team. The responsibilities of the steering committee consisted of monitoring the entire implementation process by ensuring achieving the milestone achievements, ensuring top management support in decision making, providing clear communication between employees in the hospital as well as between internal and external stakeholders, and coordinating resources and planning with all the departments. In the second phase, the requirements expected from the ERP implementations are specified. Requirements in this context are being classified into functional and non-functional requirements. Functional requirements are statements of services the system should behave in particular situations and expected to provide for the intended users, while the non-functional requirements are constraints on the services being offered by the systems. Furthermore, each of the requirements are also being addressed with the involved departments, their priority and its critical level towards the incorporation is briefly explained. With the requirements listed by the committee, ERP software package provided by the supplier can be selected. Mostly, there are three types of ERP implementation that can be chosen by an organization, which are customized, standard, and open source. In this case, we would be opting the standardized package as this approach offers better advantages suited for the hospital. Moreover, other approaches would hardly be an option as they require more of the hospital's IT knowledge and resources for further upgrading, improving, and maintaining the ERP software. In this section, after the selection of appropriate ERP system, we will assess the risks involved during the implementation of ERP. To prevent any possible failures through a matrix, and the matrix will be monitored by the steering committee. The risk parameters are measured through a matrix of risk impact versus risk likelihood. After identification of the risk, they are avoided, reduced, transferred, and mitigated to prevent failure during implementation. We have identified 6 risks which can be involved while implementing. And the measures which will be taking are resistance of employees and misusing of systems will be avoided. Loss of data through bad migration needs to be transferred. Non-availability of key resources and high efficiency during rollout should be mitigated. And finally, delay during implementation should be reduced. Now, we will account for all the critical factors involved during the whole process of implementation. Below are the 3 highlighted critical success factors which are corresponding to the identified challenges and have a high impact on the success rate of the implementation process. In the following slides, we will explain more about the implementation strategies regarding those critical success factors. The first critical factor is business process reengineering, BPR. BPR is the leaning of the key components of an organizational structure to eliminate waste and boost the efficiency of the organization. This is done by executing a gap analysis which helps in re-engineering the process if necessary. The steering committee monitors the gap analysis and the documentation of re-engineering is done. Furthermore, new manuals for the users are created. The second most important critical success factor is user training. After the determination of the new processes, a testing system is installed. The training to the future user is provided using this system. The training is followed in steps, starting with journey training to the employees by the ERP supplier. Then train the trainer concept is used to highly train one employee so that he can give training to other employees, followed by conduct usability testing, in which ERP supplier will provide tasks to test the user knowledge of employees and feedbacks will be noted for the same. The last step of training involves testing the user's knowledge of each department through tasks provided by the trainer to the respective different departments to confirm their collaboration with the system. After the reorganizing of processes and training the users, we need to select the best suitable transition approach for changing from legacy to the new ERP system. The most commonly used transition approach are Big Bang, Phased and Parallel. We have proposed to use phased transition approach for the transition from legacy system to a new one. In this approach, one functional module or department at a time in sequential order is implemented, which lowers the risk of outcomes. In this, integration of ERP modules takes place at a later stage. Until the new ERP system becomes fully functional, interface programs are used to bridge the gap between legacy system and the new ERP system. The third most important critical success factor is data migration. Data is important for the hospital, and one of the risks involved while migrating the data is of losing it. Many important factors are taken into consideration while migrating the data, such as data volume, data quality, data retention, and data migration cost. In this project, data is migrated through a systematic and phased approach based on transaction-driven migration to prevent the data losses. In this approach, the data is first converted and then loaded into ERP system. The steps involved in this approach are: data is extracted and converted, data is loaded in a load file, and standard load programs are used. The post-implementation process involves the assessing the success of the TA system. Employees can best assess the benefits of the ERP system. We have used NPS method to get the fast and valuable input for improvements. Improvements can also be categorized with the help of McLean method for a clear overview of where to improve. In NPS method, feedback from users are taken through simple questions and they are asked to give rating on a scale of 0 to 10. The range for promoters are 9 to 10, for neutral users it is 7 to 8, and for critical casters it is range from 0 to 6. The main focus is to improve NPS by converting more of neutral and criticasters to the promoter scale.
Now we will discuss the economical impact of the implementation. The total cost of ownership for the implementation will add up to 4 million over time period of 10 years, and it's divided between initial implementation and yearly cost. The initial implementation, which appear in the first year, will be around 1 million euros, and from year 2 to year 10 we have 3 millions divided over 9 years. The subscription costs are most important factor, and we think that maintenance and upgrades are done by suppliers of ERP system, which reduce the cost for the current system for the hospital. To determine the hospital economical impact, we used benchmark to estimate ICT cost of hospital and estimate the yearly cost of reduction. It will be mainly reduction of software, servers and storage by approximate 650,000 euros per year, which result in return on investment of 62.5% and payback period of almost 6 years. What we want to achieve with this new ERP system: in the new situation, process run more smoothly, and gathering of data for reporting is more accurate. Therefore, mainly the management and C-level can steer the hospital toward improvement to remain in the top 25% of general hospital in the Netherlands. In this section, we will compare our approach and the approach developed and executed by M&I partners. By comparing both approaches, we could know what was missed out by us or M&I partners. First, in our scope, we missed out on the doctor and nurses who were going to use the ERP system as well. This also caused us not to include them in our steering committee. For our implementation, we used the SDLC waterfall model as our guideline, while M&I partner also used the same model in the past. However, since a couple of years, M&I partners started to use MCP, managing successful program, as a framework, which is more suitable for bigger IT projects. The MCP framework consists out of 3 core concepts. The outer ring represents the principle of organization. The second ring represents the governance themes. The inner ring represents the root of the program lifecycle. M&I partners stated that with the size of this project, the SDLC waterfall model could still be as applicable than MCP. For the user board, that what we completely missed out, our team thought that the steering committee would be enough to fulfill this role. But M&I partner made sure that there was a user board which contained a variety of employees from different departments. When comparing the risk, we miss one important risk, number 7, not achieving the goal of the project. Also, some of the risks were a bit different, and they are number 1, 2, and 3. Resistance of employees after implementation, loss of data through bad migration, misusing of the system by employees. For the transition approach, M&I used the Big Bang approach instead of our phase approach. M&I stated that with the phase approach, more risk could occur because with a phased approach, the system is implemented in parts. That mean the implementation of the new system will be in one department, then the next department, and so on. But for the Big Bang approach, you need to shut down the old system in all the hospital to implement the new system. The most significant difference stated by the project leader had to do with the change management. M&I partner focused a lot more on the change management than we did. In our approach, we only mentioned and consider a gap analysis and provided training regarding change management, while M&I focus besides this point more on the change analysis. For sure, besides creating manual and using a trainer, M&I also ensure early and wide communication through the organization. Also provide process walkthrough, movie clips, schedule information session. Also, M&I partners like the idea of introducing the NPC method to get continuous feedback from the users, because it's a good way to assess the quality of the system and the implementation among employees. M&I partners are going to consider this approach in future projects. Thank you for your attention. And lastly, the collaboration between team members. We work efficiently because roles were clearly defined. Work with equally distributed. We ensure the quality of the project by close, not very close collaboration because of the corona, but we met online since the pandemic. Thank you.